Hi, I'm Barrett Doss, and I'm at FrConventions. Yeah, it was amazing. So I remember our first day shooting a pilot of Station 19. We were up in Seattle, and Jay and I, our very first scene was the moment where the guys walk out of the house, and Dean's got the puppy and that whole bit. But before they shot that, Jay and I were sitting in the aid car in the ambulance because we had to get out and pull out a gurney as part of that scene. But they kept missing whatever those first shots were. It was raining, and so we ended up sitting in the aid car for like 3 hours just hanging out and getting to know each other. And that was just already the basis of the relationship that we built over what became, now 7-8 years together as friends, which is just amazing. So that was the first day on set. So I'll never forget that. And it was so Seattle and so Station 19 with the rain and everything else that was great. I do. I think I do understand why that's a fan favorite relationship. I mean, Brett and I, so we had shot one scene together in season 1, towards the end of season 1, where we were all doing one-on-one interviews with Ripley. And sometime between the end of season 1 and the beginning of season 2, the writers had seen that and thought that they saw a little something interesting between the two of us. I think it was the contentious relationship that Shondaland lovers always like to see, the sort of enemies to lovers trope, right? So we, because I think we had that, even though the two characters were wide apart in age, we were very different rank, and obviously we dealt with that on the show. I think that little feisty dynamic that we had, and seeing someone younger and confident standing up to the boss, was really cathartic for a lot of people. I think people appreciated that. So I feel like that's why people fell in love with those two together. And I fell in love with those two together. I loved working with Brett, and we had a really great time, just an easy chemistry. It was never a challenge. We have a lot of respect for each other as actors, even now. And so I sometimes, like when I've rewatched bits of the show or I've seen any clips or anything, it all brings that back for me. And I'm like, yeah, we worked really well together. I wish we had more opportunities to do it. I think for Travis and Vic, the thing that really united them was their shared sense of humor. I think that when we make friends, sometimes it's those deeper things that bond us together, but the person who you can share a laugh with and who can make you laugh when you're at your absolute worst is going to be the person who you want to stick by. I think that's what maintained their relationship. There was always a trust that I can show you all of my ugly and you will accept me, because I'm going to turn around and you're going to show me the same, but also you're going to make me laugh, and I think you're going to love me anyway. So being able to see these two characters continually pull each other up and meet each other's crazy was what was the basis of their like very deep love, and why I love Jay too. And she, I think, especially with those two, there was, again, little age gap. I think she was kind of in the little sister role with him, but when she went through some of her losses and he could teach her and coach her through it, that only made them stronger as friends. So it's, invaluable relationship for both of them on the show. Yeah, I thought that was a great move for Vic. I remember talking to the writers at some point, probably around season 3 or 4 before we started, because they always wondered where she was going. Like, what did I see for that character, for her future? And I said, I don't think she's ever wanted to rise up in the ranks. I don't think that having power is that important to her. I think she's always just wanted to help people. And she didn't really feel the need to prove herself a lot, I think, compared especially to some of the really awesome relationships between the other women on the show, where it was contentious because they were power hungry and really ambitious women. I don't think Vic was that ambitious. I think she liked helping people, and that was her only ambition. So seeing her fall into this role of being an empathetic listener, essentially, and really finding her skill set in that made perfect sense to me as a character who can laugh through her tears, who can make other people laugh when they're in tears. I think that turned into her, what I used to call, when we were working on the show, her superpower. And so I thought that that was a really natural thing for her to do, but I was always curious how she would handle leadership. And I think it took her a while to get good at it, but I think by the time we finished the show and the series, I feel like she had gotten there. I would have loved to have seen how she actually handled real leadership once she started Crisis 1, because even the last season she was like, is she going to be able to do this? But yeah, I was really proud of her. I loved that arc for her. You know, that's the relationship with Theo was always really interesting to me, because I found that they had a very different chemistry than obviously the one we saw between her and Ripley. I think that it seemed very youthful. It seemed very fun. Like, they always seemed like friends who like to kind of hook up and like hang out. You know, I could picture them like going out and like having some drinks, and like that was the energy between them. And I enjoyed that about them, but I think when Theo sort of had his turn, when he was dealing with his past, essentially his demons, he struggled to manage that, and I think Vic didn't know how to handle that, and with the depth of her feelings for him. So it's funny because I think she loved Theo, but I always thought that it was it was more than friendship, but it wasn't like soulmate status. And so when they sort of fell out, it was like, well, yeah, we can remain friends. There was no like, okay, you're out of my life and I'm not speaking to you. And then of course with Travis being in the mix too, it was really hard. Like, we all have had maybe those relationships where it's like, God, I can't get rid of this guy because he's friends with, you know. But yeah, that was a complicated story, and I wish in some ways that we'd been able to develop pieces of it a little more. I think that their arc together when Vic got pregnant, I wish that we had been able to dig a little bit more into that, because I think even a scene where we got the opportunity to watch her tell Theo that she was pregnant. We didn't get to see that, and I think that would have explained a lot about who they were to each other. So that's something that, you know, I always wish. I love Vic so much that I wanted to see her more with everybody, you know, but there's only so many minutes in an episode. Yeah, it was, the cancellation was really hard. For me, it was something that I felt like it was never going to happen. We were never going to get canceled because we had managed to stick it out every year. You know, when we thought maybe we weren't going to come back, we always came back. So that was a real shock and a real disappointment, because we loved the show and we loved each other and we were still going strong even through the end. So it was very bittersweet, but the outpouring of love that we received in the wake of that was also just magical. It made us feel like the show was going to live on, which obviously it has, and people still find new things to love about it and rewatches and everything else, and they come here today, and it's just, being here has been such a gift. So I'm so thrilled, because it reminds me that nothing that we did, cancellation or no, was in vain, that this is all. And we got that opportunity with the cancellation to do as much as we could to wrap up the stories in a way that felt true to who these characters were. So the legacy of it, I think, is kind of where it needed to be. Even though, you know, we could have done 10 more seasons and probably been happy doing it.